So as the ball travels, the defender could look to deny time and space and press. Or they could wait for the player to have contact on the ball, then engage and press. Hello and a warm welcome. My name is Matt Jones and I'm an FA Regional Coach Development Officer. This is session 1 of a 6-week session programme. This 6-week session programme is aimed at supporting players aged 7 to 11 around stopping goals, pressing and challenging. So this is week 1, practice 1, where the aims and objectives are to increase the players' bravery and confidence in trying to challenge for the ball, win it back and react positively. So the first practice, this could also be described as an arrival activity because it can happen with small numbers as they arrive. So here we have 2 players with 2 cones and you can consider the distance between them. You can also dot these around the area, or indeed the players can have ownership to set them up themselves if they're that little bit older and you could entrust them. So as players arrive, they can set up a little 1v1 situation, but here's the ins and outs of the game. So the blue number 4 here is going to play the ball along the floor to the yellow number 4. Yellow number 4 is then going to try and dribble to one of the 2 cones, and the blue has got to try and mirror where the yellow goes and try to arrive and get a touch on the cone before the yellow arrives with the ball. Here we're trying to get the players to subtly think about their body position and what they might do with both their upper body and their lower body, to think about defensive tactics, acceleration, deacceleration, and arriving at different angles and at different speeds to try and get one step ahead of the attacker in order to read where they might be going to gain an advantage to nick the ball back. So practice 2 is almost split into 3. It's what we would nickname a carousel approach in the world of coaching. So players can rotate around these different mini practices, which gives them a variety. Let me just explain briefly why there's a difference in terms of the size and the setup. So this could be linked to position-specific areas. Now, between the ages of 7 and 11, we want to make sure that players are experiencing different playing positions and we're not pigeonholing them. But if you're getting towards the age of 10 and 11 where they're starting to specialise in certain areas like defender, midfielder, attacker, here's where the different size areas can help them in terms of learning how to defend in a particular position. So if we take the one furthest away from me, number 7, this is quite a long, narrow channel. This is where typically you might be a fullback or a winger. In this case, number 7 might be playing right winger, is defending in that area of the pitch, which they would be doing on a game day. So they've got to get used to covering that distance from front to back, but also that width, which is where they're most likely to be facing a 1v1 against an opponent. The idea of the game is that the yellow is going to dribble out, engage with the blue, try and round their opponent and get into the end zone. If the blue manages to pinch the ball back by utilising their 1v1 defending technique, we want them to be productive with the ball. They're then going to look to play it into the next player at the start of the line. The yellow would then join the next line, and number 10 would then have a go at attacking blue number 7. It's important at this point just to say that maybe after 3 or 4 reps as a defender in here, this player would then swap with one of the other players, just so that everyone gets a mix of role and variety, as well as making sure that every player gets to experience defending, which is the aim and objective of this 6-week programme. Moving on to the second mini practice, if you like, in the carousel, you'll notice that this one is wider and shorter. Here's where we might be working on a midfielder who has to work a little bit more 360, but doesn't have to work over longer distances because there'll be players supporting them in deeper positions as well as in front. So they're working and operating over a different space, but a more realistic space linked to the position and the area with which they would naturally be faced with defending on a match day. The same applies in terms of we've got a 1v1 where the attacker's trying to get into the end zone. If the blue defender manages to nick it and intercept, they then play it to the player at the front of the next line. And again, number 8 will then join the queue of the next mini practice. This practice here is where we might then start to look at the defender dealing with the attacker being in the practice to begin with, and how this defender might defend against the yellow number 2 with their back to goal. So the attacker starts in the practice, the ball is played to them, and to begin with it might be played on a straight line, like so, or we might vary the feed coming from a different angle, or the player might move along, which is going to engage the defender's movement before the ball arrives. This gives the defender different game realistic problems to deal with as to how they would set up to defend in terms of their body position, how they would use their upper body and lower body, things we've started to wake up in this arrival activity, and also those anticipation skills of trying to read ahead, where is the ball likely to be played, am I able to nick in front and intercept the ball, or do I allow the opponent to gain possession of the ball, in which case I look to engage in my 1v1 duel, keeping their back to goal, or do I allow them to get on the half turn, face up, and then we engage on a 1v1. So there's almost like 3 stages when you can choose to engage. So as the ball travels, the defender could look to deny time and space and press, or they could wait for the player to have contact on the ball, then engage and press. Or they could allow the player to receive the ball, turn, and then engage in a 1v1 where they're faced up. But ultimately, in this type of practice, especially if they are the centre back close to their own goal, we would want to try and keep that attacker with their back to goal. So reading of when to press, to stay close, deny them time and space, so it makes it really awkward and difficult for that player to be able to turn and either get their shot off or turn and play in one of their supporting teammates. So third and final practice, as we continue our quest to try and increase the player's confidence and bravery to challenge for the ball and possibly intercept. Here we have a setup of what looks like a traditional game, so yellows versus blues with some neutral players around the outside. Obviously you can select a number of players that meet the needs of your group depending on how many you have available. Again, with the size of the area, just make sure that's replicable numbers to sizes for angles and distances. So the way the game works is yellows are playing blues. At any point in time, should they wish to, they can play it to a neutral player who can then bounce it back into the same colour. So if it comes from a yellow number 3, they must play it back to another yellow player. They can even play it back to the yellow 3. So there's options for them to stay in possession if they wish. The defending team, if they can pinch the ball back via an interception or engage in a 1v1 duel, thinking about the things we've done earlier on in terms of upper body, lower body, timing of that 1v1 duel and or press, then we want to try and praise that, catch them doing something well. If upon interception of the ball, when the pass might be going from the 8 to the 10, the 11 might nick it, or if the 10's got it and the 8 chooses to press and they manage to intercept it and shoot and score, they'll get a point. If, however, the yellows, upon losing the ball, manage to win it back, turn it over again within 4 seconds, keep possession through either using their own teammates, or here's where the extra players on the outside can be a good tactic, keep possession. If they manage to win it back within 4 seconds and keep possession for however long, and then they manage to make their way up the pitch, shoot and score, it is worth 5 points. So we're really trying to emphasise that, can you win it back quickly, and then can you react positively upon regain, thinking about driving up the pitch to the other end, combining, connecting, dribble, shoot and score, so that we're getting that natural turnover between out of possession to in possession and embedding that good habit of you won the ball back, try and be productive with it. And what child doesn't love to get more bang for their buck by scoring a goal and getting 5 points as opposed to just 1? So hopefully we're incentivising it as a little bit of a carrot dangling. Try it with your players. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you've enjoyed it and you'd like to access more resources, please visit our England Football Learning website or the England Football Learning YouTube channel for more information.